Well, we were sitting in the sweet spot today. Nice weather. Not so nice if you go way to the north, and not so nice if you went, well, not that far to the south. Was low pressure moving east and offshore the southeast coast and heading out to sea. We have a storm system in the plains that is moving eastward. That's the weekend issue. And we have Joe Rayo here tonight with me, Joe Cioffi, on tonight's.
Amazing.
Yes, well, you're nobbing on every network there is. The that's right now on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Mulch, topsoil, and sand this winter. Salt. They are Long Island's largest rock salt source. 631-756-1125 is the phone number for the best prices in town. The website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Great Christmas gift, especially if you have kids that are interested in science and weather, because this is great. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. Use the referral link and anything you purchased at the Tempest by WeatherFlow website. Use the coupon code I want a weather station, because deep down inside you do, and if you do, you get
10% off.
All right, so which was it today? I understand it was Fox today. What's on?
Yes,
Yes.
Fox Weather called and wanted to do something about the eclipse, which most of us are probably not going to see on Saturday because of the impending wave of low pressure heading in from the Midwest. So there you go.
Well, you did Fox, you did podcasts. I hope you at least get a chance to give just a little promo for the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on Sunday through Thursdays at 7:35 p.m.
I always mention Joe and Joe, and in fact, they are aware of Joe and Joe. What would it be like to actually have a show on Fox Weather, on the Joe and Joe Weather Show on Fox Weather?
Listen, just put the decimal point somewhere. Put the decimal point somewhere after 6 or 7 numbers. I'm there. provided they're okay with me doing it from my mountain chalet here in North Georgia.
Well, I mean, I think that makes us unique. I mean, I'm up here in the Hudson Valley of New York, and you're in northern Georgia, 2,200 feet above sea level. So,
yes, 2,200 feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Way up there.
Yeah, it's high.
Yeah.
It gets cold up here. Oh well.
I think we get a lot more viewers than the Weather Channel used to get with Mac the Mechanic. Let's put it that way.
Oh, good. Is he still with us?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, because I'm the last person you need to ask about these things because I don't watch. Welcome everybody on the chat board. Thanks for joining us tonight and moving up the start time to 7:00. You see, I'm actually in a shirt today, a shirt with buttons, and if I stood up, which I don't feel like doing, I have on dress pants and shoes because tomorrow they're doing a Grandparents' Day, and I'm going with my grandson at his school for Grandparents' Day. So I have to be up at we have to go at like 8:00 in the morning. So I got to make the drive down. I'm sleeping at my daughter's house tonight. So anyway, enough of that. You had a lovely day today. I actually had rain last night. I had about 4/10 of an inch of rain, which is the most rain I've had in over a month.
Wow.
And it's only the second time that it's rained here in the last 26 or 27 days. So it was welcome because the ground was pretty dry and my plants were shriveling up. But looks like we're still on course. Saturday, depending on where you are, because we have such a large viewership covering a huge area of geography. Some places to the west will probably start raining Saturday morning. Some places to the east will probably wait till sometime in the afternoon. And I mean, it looks like the bulk of the rain should be done Sunday morning around by daybreak or so, unless there's something lingering for in some places along the coast.
Yeah, and it looks like in the tri-state New York metropolitan area, the heaviest rainfall is going to be basically from New York on south. If you're north, where I am in the Hudson Valley, we'll probably get some rain, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a whole heck of a lot, which is kind of nice because it seems, as I mentioned last night, that where I am, I seemingly have been in the epicenter of some really hefty rainfalls over the last 6 weeks, but not this go around. I don't think we're going to see very much. We'll have maybe a little spotty precipitation arriving early in the day on Saturday, maybe even holding off until midday, and then Saturday afternoon. The majority of the heavier rain will probably be off to our south, but a quarter of an inch, maybe a half an inch from New York on south Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. And as you just noted, Joe, because of the fact that there's going to be a secondary storm system, a coastal low developing, taking the handoff from the storm coming in from the Ohio Valley, that will probably take most of the moisture out and away from our area during the early part of Sunday. And we may actually salvage later Sunday with a bit of sunshine.
Yeah, I was kind of holding on to the idea that clearing was going to be a difficult proposition for Sunday, but I've thrown the towel a little bit on that. I also went for maybe some developing afternoon sunshine. Meanwhile, I guess it made upper 60s and low 70s today up by you. It made mid to upper 60s here in the North Georgia mountains, but you've got a cold front that is actually as of 5 o'clock, I believe that this is the 21Z map, right? No, it's the 18Z. So let me see if the 21's, yep, 21's in. There's a cold front that's been being analyzed from western Maine to just west of Boston, right across Long Island to New York City, and then it sort of wiggles stationary from there south and west. And that's that. We've been talking about this big high in Canada that's building while this storm system, and you can see it on the surface map. There's a low in southern Nebraska, 991-ish surface low there, but there is a very strong high building in central Canada that's ridging over the top and is going to be building down the east coast tomorrow. So that probably will knock the temperatures down about, I would say, about maybe 4 to 5 degrees for the highs versus today. It also will, slow this weather system is only moving very slowly because of the higher pressures around it, and also because of the fact that we have, the old eastern Canada upper low, which is now moved far enough east to allow things to move. Well, that's going to slow down again somewhere between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So at least like we'll finish the work week off okay, and then we'll adventure our way into gloom and doom for Saturday into Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be taking its sweet time getting in here, the rain that is. And again, because of the fact that that high is going to be building in late tonight and tomorrow, and sort of trying to, force its way in between the retreating storm, upper level storm system that's been bothering us for much of the week, and the next system coming in from the Midwest. So, it would not be at all surprising for some of you out there if you didn't see any rain until after the noon hour or early afternoon. Again, being held back. That'll probably be a lot of cloud cover in the sky, making a gloomy looking Saturday to go along with Joe's gloom and doom. I guess we'll get the gloom first, and if you want to associate the rain with the doom, that may not come until the second half of the day on Saturday.
Right. Meanwhile, there are no watches and warnings up, and I'm thinking that we'll probably, with the heavier rain, going to be more south than north. If we use, say, if we use New York City and Long Island, just sort of draw an east-west line from there and go west, so or actually northwest, rainfall amounts will tail off and don't look to be problematic in those areas where the ground has been saturated by the big rains. However, this time around, there might be inch and a half rainfall amounts I think are possible in South Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, down into Maryland, to the Delmarva Peninsula, and maybe even into parts of eastern Virginia with this. Meanwhile, out in the Rockies and in the plains, we've got a variety of high wind warnings and wind advisories that are up. There's also a slew of winter weather advisories, mainly west of Denver, for example, so west of I-25 in the mountains, in north central uh, Colorado, and also we've got a a peppering of winter storm warnings in the great state of Wyoming. And again, a lot of this is for elevated areas there, but this is really the first. This is really the first system that's producing a significant snowfall for somewhere, though mostly at levels what we're talking about 7, 8, 9,000 feet up. But eventually, as we get a little deeper into the month and we start to get closer to November, we'll start to see snow levels come down, and we'll probably see snow pop up in other places. The satellite loop late this afternoon, a lot of clouds in the Gulf states. There was at least a decent amount of rain from southeast Louisiana eastward into northern Florida and southern Georgia, some places getting up to several inches. And there was a lot of severe weather early this morning, by the way, in central and north Florida. A lot of those folks woke up to a tornado watch that was up. And I think there were a couple of tornadoes. I saw something about one in Clearwater, Florida, uh, from this stalled frontal boundary and the low that is moving along with it to the east. And you can see the fast-moving loop here. The system in the west, you've got the rotation there and the sort of east-west frontal boundary that's running across the lower legs. That stick of clouds, Joe, that's probably the low is going to take a path. Just if you look at where that stick of clouds is, the low track is probably going to be pretty much where those clouds are right now. It's going to move to the lower lakes, upper Ohio Valley, and then do the redevelopment thing on Saturday somewhere off the Mid-Atlantic coast.
Yeah, and my sister, by the way, flew down today. I haven't had a chance to touch base with her. Flew down to West Palm Beach. I wanted to see whether or not her flight was a JetBlue flight, whether or not it was a little bumpy as she moved into the vicinity of South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, because I'm sure with all of that convection that the air must have been a little turbulent for doing a little flying down in that part of the country today.
Oh, no doubt. Radars are a little less busy than they were before in the southeast. Most of the weather is now offshore North Carolina. There are still some thunderstorms in parts of northeast Florida. There have a couple of special marine warnings up at 7:13 p.m. Eastern Time, and then there's a line of showers and one or two thunderstorms cutting the state south of I-4. They're moving mostly east-northeastward. The line is only very slow. The line isn't really moving much in the way of moving from north to south. So some areas probably getting hit with some big storms, but nothing that they don't normally experience. And here's what's going on. From Wisconsin to southern Minnesota, back to southern South Dakota and northern Nebraska, a lot of heavy rain there and some flash flooding, and even just saw a little tornado warning pop up there in southern Nebraska. And further west, when we get into Wyoming, a lot of that, especially the elevated areas for sure, is in the form of snow. And you can see the twisting here, the counterclockwise turning. So we've got not only a fairly intense surface low, but we also have a strong upper feature with it. The Storm Prediction Center tonight has, as soon as it reloads, we've got a tornado watch in central Nebraska. That's inside an area of slight risk, and you saw there was a tornado warning that popped up on the radar. Marginal risk continues over central Florida. Tomorrow, the risk areas are actually going to be shrinking as we move this system east. So a marginal risk tomorrow in Iowa, western Illinois, and northeastern Missouri, and just general thunderstorms possible in central and south Florida up to coastal South Carolina. Then as we move on to day 3, we have a marginal risk for coastal North Carolina and a very, very small portion of South Carolina. This is not going to be, Joe, we're not going to have to worry about convective rains from this.
Right. In fact, for example, on Saturday, even the general thunderstorm area is south of the New York City tri-state area. Of course, The warm front is also probably going to be to our south, keeping us in the cooler airflow. So that means the air is going to be a bit more stable and probably will not allow for any convection to take place. So whatever rain that falls on Saturday, it will not be accompanied by rumbles of thunder or flashes of lightning.
Yeah, that definitely is not going to be an issue uh, for the Northeast. And well, I mean, if you go down into Virginia, maybe the Delmarva Peninsula, closer to where the low track is going to be, there might be a bit of a different story there. WPC, now they've kind of, I know they cut it back. Now they just they must have just updated this. I don't know what they looked at to decide to pull the 3/4 of an inch to an inch line back up to about New York City and Long Island. They've got an inch and a half from 195 in New Jersey southward and into southeast, small portion of southeast PA, and 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter in up over eastern Maryland and over the state of Delaware. And then of course you see the rains kind of tail off from there. 1.5 inch plus rainfalls from southern Minnesota eastward into southern Wisconsin as this storm system shifts to the east, and there's action off the coast of the Pacific Northwest as we wait for the next round of energy to move inland there over the next 7 days. Up to a few inches is indicated. So let's go to. By the way, I should mention to everybody this is going to be a short show tonight. Okay, I think did I say that at the beginning?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so this is going to be a short show tonight. So just so you know, we're going to probably be done by 7:30 because I have to travel. Joe, the upper air. I mean, it really kind of once the model figured out that this, and it took a while, but once the model figured out that this upper air storm in eastern Canada was going to take forever to get out of the way, and it never really does completely get out of the way because it moves eastward. Friday over Nova Scotia and somewhere between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, but it doesn't keep on going. So you got this upper low that's coming out of the plains, and it moves into northern Indiana by the time we get to Saturday afternoon. But the upper low is now pivoting back northwestward, so that's helping to make this. It's forcing this system to the primary low to go southeast and for a secondary low to develop. Rather than dealing with a totally cut off system, which is what the models were showing us back about a week or so ago, it's really evolved into something else because the models didn't take into account what's been going on with that eastern Canada low.
And because of all of that, again, most of the heavy duty stuff will probably be passing to the south. Although, because of the fact that that upper low over Atlantic Canada kind of retrogresses backwards, it kind of takes away some of the possible strengthening of that secondary low. So, the secondary low will probably bring heavier precip amounts south of New York City, but it does not look like a terribly or adverse system that could bring many inches of rain.
Yeah, exactly. Too much energy running around and only a little bit, a limited amount of room. And as this first low now the models keep showing a second low trying to form along about Monday night or Tuesday. You got the GFS diving a cutoff into the central Appalachians and then kind of lifting it up northeastward along the coast. I'm not so sure of that, Joe, because it's also predicated on the fact that the stuff in eastern Canada gets out of the way. But if it doesn't, and that's what the European is sort of suggesting, that it might not get out of the way, that the second upper low that cuts off may wind up being more squashed and not really a big deal for. I mean, I put in the chance that there could be some patchy rain or showers Monday night and Tuesday, but I'm not so sure whether this is going to be as wrapped up as the GFS has it. I mean, ultimately, it does get out of the way by the time we get to Wednesday, and then the second half of next week looks okay. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that. If you look,
I mean, it's everything is interconnected. So if you're going to go on the basis of one model, saying, okay, this system will get out of the way, and this next system will come in, and we'll get some influence from it, and then another system. Another model will say, no, wait a minute now, that system can't get out of the way just yet. And as you said, it will squash it or suppress it more to the south. I mean, sometimes you really can't go more than 2 or 3 days. I know that there's some forecasters or some television networks like to give you a 10-day forecast, but sometimes it's enough to try to go 3 days out, much less 7 or 10. And this may be one of those situations where we have to literally wait and see from one day to the next what one system is going to do and how its influence is going to be on the next system that's trying to come in behind it.
Yep. Oh, you're absolutely correct. And let's not forget too, we've got this low that's moved off the southeast coast and shooting straight east, and that's sort of impacting what's going on out in the Atlantic. There's your low into Ohio by Saturday afternoon. The GFS has slowed the rain down a bit, and then of course you see this is by Saturday evening, some darker shades of green there in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and even some yellows in New Jersey as far as the rainfall intensity is concerned. The yellow area translates to about a half an inch of liquid in a 6-hour time frame. So it would generally suggest that those areas that certainly those areas that WPC has southern half of New Jersey and points southward could wind up with maybe a couple of inches of rain out of this. So then Sunday morning, as it pulls away, maybe with a little luck and a little dry air, maybe we'll salvage the afternoon with some sunshine. And the flow along the East Coast, by the way, is going to be rather chilly. We got that big high that drops down into South Dakota, and it's nothing but a northeast flow that runs from northeastern Canada all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico for Sunday night and for the first part of next week. I'm gonna get cold with this.
And I see we have one person on the chat board, William Jersey Shore. Joe Rayo, how much rain in Belmore, New Jersey are you calling for? I haven't really made an official forecast on Facebook yet. I had things that were happening this afternoon, but as I said, for Belmore, would be surprised if you picked up an inch or maybe even a little bit more. I don't think you're going to see much more than that. Again, because that secondary looks like, number one, some of the energy is going to be sapped by the lingering Atlantic Canada low. And again, it's taking a track that seems to be favorable for bringing you this significant rainfall, about an inch or so. And hopefully,
the Weather Service digital forecast has 1.33 for Belmar. So they have an inch and a third.
Okay. Well, as I said, I think you're set up to see at least an inch, maybe a little more, and so National Weather Service thinks that you're going to get a little more.
North and northeast of Route 84, it's under a quarter of an inch, and some places even under a tenth.
I should, while we're on here, let me I'll just quickly check and see what La Plumes is indicating for precipitation amounts in and around the area.
And while you're looking for the plumes, let me just real quick, I'll run through the GFS because Sal Blandino on the board tonight. I didn't see him. But the GFS is actually bringing out a cold front late next week, and it develops a low in northern Mississippi and has all this lovely Gulf moisture that comes out and moves into the southeastern part of the United States, Joe. And guess what? It's got a, rain. This would be weekend number 7 if this verifies. This has a soaking heavy rain for the east, for much of the mid-Atlantic and southern areas of the Northeast for next Saturday night into Sunday. If you want, I mean, it's far ahead. Obviously, it could change, and probably will. But just thought I'd put it out there that maybe this weekend that. If the models have their way, the Europeans different. The Europeans got a different look to it and doesn't have much of anything for next week. And this was something new that popped up on this late afternoon run, so I'd be a little suspicious of that. But anyway, something to think about in the longer range. So have you found Les Plumes?
Well, Les Plumes for White Plains doesn't even have any precipitation arriving until sometime around 21Z. That would be like what, 5 o'clock?
Five in the afternoon.
5 in the afternoon. They have everything bone dry until then. And as far as total precipitation is concerned, not putting out more than less than a half an inch. So that's for White Plains. Let me go a little further north, up toward Poughkeepsie, and Poughkeepsie is even less. Poughkeepsie has less than 4/10 of an inch, and they too remain dry right on through 21Z. So again, some of these models are suggesting that the first half of the day on Saturday ain't going to be all that bad. New York, let's look at. I think this is LaGuardia. LaGuardia, picking up only about a third of an inch. I don't know why they have so less. I said, as you go south, there should be more.
Well, speaking of going south, why don't you check a few spots in South Jersey?
Okay, I will. Let's go down to Frantic City. Frantic City, and oh well,
There are
yeah.
no Rich Rothmansky. There are no maps to see now. I took the maps off because Joe's doing this. Joe's doing this off the cuff.
Atlantic City, they're only giving Joe 3/4 of an inch, 0.75.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let's see. I'm going to go even further south.
Well, the only thing you got to be careful of with the plumes is when you use the Stony Brook plumes is if there are a few members that are giving absolutely zero, and you know that that's wrong, you have to kind of find what those models are and take them out so that it can calculate the means based on the ones that are actually giving you rain.
Right.
Or you could do it another way. Sometimes I toss out the top two and toss out the bottom two. But there's 27 members over there, so it takes you forever to find out. You have to click each one to figure out which one is which.
They get Salisbury, Maryland 1.08.
Okay, so it's not going off the wall.
Yeah, it does not look like. Again, it looks like there'll be some precip, but it's nothing that you're going to want to write home about.
Yeah.
So,
Jess Harden, I got to 68 today. After the rain last night, it was in the 50s until about, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock this afternoon, because it was overcast, and then suddenly the sun broke out. When it broke out, broke wide open, and the temperatures just shot up, which is how it usually works around here.
well, we're at 7:28 now. You said you
Yes.
wanted to.
So I think we are going to wrap things up tonight for this Thursday Joe and Joe weather show. Just really quick before we do, something I do want to look at. Hold on one second. Is the European, the European actually has a hurricane developing and moving into the Northeast Caribbean in the long range, and the GFS actually also has that's from this new tropical wave that's moved offshore, not Sean, which is going to be gone soon if it isn't gone already. I'm just looking at the new GFS. The new GFS takes this next thing out to about 45 west and then recurves it. And the European takes it straight west and then west-northwest into the Leeward Islands, the northern Leeward Islands, and then into the Northeast Caribbean, not too far from Puerto Rico. So that's another one of these things that's in the who knows category. All right. Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight is brought to you by, hold on, I hit the thing, so I got to go backwards one. Nope, backwards two. Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to the video. Use the coupon code I want a weather station, and if you do, you'll get
10% off.
Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
And we have one super chat hit, Joe.
We did? I didn't see it.
Yes, Quiet John. Quiet
Quiet
John.
John again?
Quiet John.
Quiet John, thank you so much.
Yes, a generous super chat hit into the tip jar. And yes, I do appreciate it very much. Your tip jars, your tip hits are very generous.
Yes.
We're gonna have to start strumming
You're rich.
guitars like they do when they're standing in subway stations, and having the guitar case open and people tossing dollar bills in. We'll give you a
Yes.
forecast. You'll see how fast that guitar case gets full. All right, everybody, have a great night and a great weekend. We'll be back Sunday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Nighty
Yeah.
night.
Good night, folks.